All right, so we are recording, and yes, thank you so much for all of you for coming and for joining, and those of you that are listening later, welcome as well. This is a packed month. It's just unbelievable how much is happening in April. I can probably talk for 24 hours about this month and what's happening and how is that gonna apply to our own life here on earth. So I'll do my best to keep it as concise as possible, but also there's a lot to cover. So feel free to take notes. Like I said, ask questions if there's something you'd like to go deeper into, or if there's something that is unclear. And I know there's a mix of people here, so some of you might be more versed in astrology than others. I always do my best to talk astrology and also in a language that everybody can understand, even if astrology is not your thing. I am going to use a lot more charts today, just because there's a lot to cover, like I said, and a lot of movements. And even if you don't know much about astrology, first of all, this is a great way to learn, and it's just nice to see that visual when we actually talk about the planets and what's happening, and a full moon and a new moon, and this goes retrograde, this goes direct, and just to see it on a screen, on this image can be very helpful. So we're just gonna start rocking and rolling, and then I'll end with more questions if you have any, and a little bit of meditation, because what's so cool, and that's how I timed this webinar, is the new moon that is upon us. And the new moon is occurring today in about 2 hours. So I wanted to time it in a way that we'll be ending this presentation about 30 minutes before the new moon. And right now we're sitting in the energy of finishing the cycle and about to start this new lunation cycle with the new moon in Aries. The new moon in Aries, well, first of all, when we went into the spring equinox a few weeks ago, that really represents the beginning of an astrological new year, complete new cycle. And the new moon in Aries kind of puts the stamp on it. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it really represents birth of some sort. It's a complete new cycle. And what we have been doing in the last few weeks, actually in the last few months, but especially in the last few weeks, since Venus went into her retrograde at the beginning of March, it's been a deep process into ourselves, finding ourselves, redefining our identity, redefining our desires and our wants and our needs, redefining who we are, redefining our relationships and our relationship dynamics, redefining our value and our worth. I'm going to talk more about it as we go into this month and the themes of this month. But nevertheless, this new moon in Aries I like to see Aries as this spark. It's what lights the engine. We need that spark. Aries rules the planet Mars, so it is associated with the planet Mars, and Mars is all about taking action. It's all about motivation. It's our instincts. It's our primal instincts. It's what comes to us naturally. We don't need to think about it. We don't need to contemplate any of that. We feel it. It's very primal. That's why our instincts are very primal. They're connected to Aries. It's the beginning. It's our root chakra. It's what connects us to our instinctual self, what we innately know that we need. And that's what Aries represents. And that's what gives us also the will. It gives us the strength and the courage and the fire to take action, because when we need something, we can move mountains with that source of will. And that's what I love about Aries. Aries are great when it comes to initiating, when it comes to taking action. So the new moon in Aries, the cycle of Aries, is so much about initiation and starting new things. And it might not look like completely new things, but even if it means to reignite something in your life that you are already familiar with, but there's a new spark into that old territory, perhaps. And we can see it a lot in relationship right now, actually. If it's the end of a lot of things that comes with the beginning of other things, if it's in the established relationship or a complete new relationships. And I'm definitely going to dive into that as we go into April and this whole year. And I talked about it in the last webinar, how much relationships are being highlighted and emphasized right now. So I'm going to go into it a little bit more. I do want to say, though, that, here we go. I do want to say that this new moon in Aries is a little bit different, though. And I'm gonna explain a little bit more about what I mean by that. But before I go into the new moon, just to cover the themes that I am seeing for April. And then we're going to go kind of blow by blow, step by step, with how we ending March, the last few days here of March, going into the month of April with this new moon happening today. So these are the major themes that I'm seeing for April. Definitely letting go of the past. And I'm going to go more in depth into each theme. Letting go of the past through forgiveness. So that's going to be highlighted as Venus continues in her retrograde cycle, going from Aries into the sign of Pisces. And that's going to happen on April 2nd. Like I said, I'll talk about all those specific dates, but having Venus back, she's going to dip. It's very significant when a planet is in retrograde and it goes from one sign, dips back to another sign. The way I see it, it's like there's unfinished business. And that's why it goes back to that sign again. So it's interesting that Venus went into Aries. And like I explained, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, beginning, initiation, new spark, this fire energy, and she went into Aries, and then she stopped, she went retrograde. That occurred at the beginning of March. And then as she goes backwards, or it seems that she's going backwards, but in her retrograde motion, she's going to dip back into Pisces. So it's like Venus is saying, wait a second, there's some unfinished business here. And Pisces, first of all, Venus is exalted in Pisces, and that's very significant. We have a lot of Venusian energy throughout the month of April. Like I said, I will talk about that. It's very important to understand and to utilize that energy, the Venusian energy, Venus energy, what it represents, and how can that assist you in your life, and especially in the realm of relationships. And that's how it ties into the first theme that I'm seeing here, because Pisces is so much about compassion and forgiveness. And we can say mentally, oh yeah, I've let go. And again, when it comes to Venus, it's so much about relationships. I've let go of this person, or I've let go of this hurt, this pain, disappointment, perhaps something that didn't work out, or maybe didn't work out according to what you wanted. And there's a lot of letting go that happens when Venus is in retrograde. Also, it's always about go within. You've got to go within. If there's anger, because Venus in Aries can very much bring some angry feelings, frustration, like I said, and it's okay. It's good to feel that. It's good to feel that. and to let yourself feel that. That's the primal feelings that we have, and anger is definitely one of them. The question is just how do you work with that anger? If you're still in a place of pointing a finger at someone or being angry at someone for doing something to you, and being in that mindset, Venus going back into Pisces, that's the reevaluation that needs to happen, the re-examining of your own feelings around what has occurred, yourself. What are the feelings that you're holding on to, the people that you're holding on to, relationships that you're holding on to, and can you find a place in yourself to forgive? Now, I really want to emphasize that forgiving doesn't mean that you suppress how you feel or that you don't express how you feel. If there's because sometimes that's the way we can let go. We actually need to have a conversation with somebody and really express ourselves. But it's also important to notice, how do we express ourselves? We can still feel angry with somebody and we can express that to that person and also maintain a harmonious conversation. And Venus is all about harmony and beauty. So it's an interesting dynamic to work with, feeling sometimes fiery emotions and feelings and to not explode. Venus in Aries can be very explosive in terms of just very impulsive. So the dipping back into Pisces is helping us to find more forgiveness, more compassion, first of all, for ourselves. And then if we are talking about relationships or other people and relationship dynamics in all areas of relationships, is, can I find forgiveness for what has happened? Can I find compassion for this person and actually rise above and look at life and look at the situation from a higher perspective? That's what Pisces represents. Venus going back, dipping back, it's like, okay, we need to do some more work here. We need to find more compassion. We need to find more forgiveness for ourselves and for others. We need to really practice our ability to see our relationships, to see our life just in general from a higher perspective, from a cosmic perspective. Pisces is cosmic. One of my greatest teachers is an amazing astrologer, Kaipacha. I recently heard him say that he doesn't even consider Pisces to be a water sign anymore, because Pisces is considered to be water, and I'm kind of in between for when it comes to that. It is water to me, but the way he explains it is that Pisces is just nothingness. You can't even define it as an element. It's cosmic energy. It's the ethers. It's the nothingness that we get to experience when we dive deep. That's how I see the Piscean flowing in between water to nothingness, is the diving so deep. If you think about the ocean, diving so deep that when you get to the bottom of the ocean, you forget that you're in water. It's like it's a whole nother world. And that's how I perceive Pisces to be. And when it comes to Venus going into that energy, is, can we really rise above all this Martian, Aries, anger feelings? She did this, he did that, all these things, and drop all of it in a blink of an eye. And that's the deep letting go, that there's an opportunity for that to take place. So everything that is happening in the cosmos, it's all happening, and we have a choice how to work with it. So this is very potent. It's something that we're going to be feeling in the month of April, as Venus, like I said, is going to go into Pisces on the 2nd, and she's going to stay in Pisces until she goes direct. And that happens in the middle of April on the 15th. And she's going to stay in Pisces until the end of April. So we're looking at Venus being almost another month again in Pisces. So there's no coincidences, I like to say, in the cosmic play. And she chooses to go back into Pisces and stay there because there's something for us to learn, to implement better, deeper, higher level, just expanding our ability to forgive, expanding our ability to find compassion, and within ourselves first and foremost. It's not something external. The work needs to be done on the inside, and then there's more space to bring it out there, if it's in your relationships or anything else in your life. So I put this as the first theme because I really see it as a major, I would say the most major one in April. And that's what makes this new moon a bit different. And even though it's in Aries and it's like, yes, let's go, and all this fire, but there's still a very strong sense of internal, got to go in. And that's the balance that we'll need to find in April, is how do I still stay on course and take action, not completely retreating, because we are looking at really amazing energy to utilize when it comes to taking action and moving life forward, and to not get caught up in that and forget about the inner world that is being shown to you right now, and really taking things to the next level within yourself, and especially within your ability to forgive and to find compassion. And, that's why I said that it's getting ready for takeoff, April, because it's not, usually with new moon in Aries and in April, I would say taking off. But with this month, with what's happening, it's not a full taking off. It's getting ready for takeoff. That's how I see it. Because May is like the entire universe is shifting in a major way. And obviously when we get to May, I'll talk about that. But right now, it's so important to align yourself, And that's why the inner work is so important. And to find that alignment between your words, between your feelings, your heart, and your actions. And that's the getting ready for takeoff. Because when everything is aligned in that way, when you find that deep love for yourself, when you find compassion for yourself, and you find compassion for other people, for the world in general, and that's the language of the soul. The soul doesn't hold on to any grudges. And when we can align all of that, then the real takeoff happens, and we really take off. So the next theme that I'm seeing for April is confidence in your value and to know your worth. And this is an ongoing theme that we've been looking at with Venus in retrograde. Mars being in the sign of Taurus also. Again, there's a lot of Venusian energy, and Venus is about our values, what it is that we value. And with Venus in retrograde is so much about your own value. How much do you value yourself, to really know your worth? And it's so beyond, like, again, with Venus going back into Pisces, it's so beyond just the on the physical level, which is really important as well, to acknowledge your worth and your value and what it is that you do in your life that is of worth and of value. But with Venus in going back into Pisces, being in retrograde, is to see yourself in the eyes of God. That's what I'm talking about. That's the opportunity. That's the value. That's the there's no worth even. Like, we can't even put a price tag on that, so to speak. It's if we could all see ourselves in the eyes of God, or please, whatever word that works for you, because I know God has, kind of connotations and charges to it. I use God loosely, and when I say God, I mean life, spirit, universe, source. Use whatever word that resonates with you, please. The bottom line, though, of this is to see yourself in the eyes of that you are a divine being, a divine being. Venus in retrograde, going back to Pisces, is the invitation to see yourself in that way. And just imagine how much your life will take off when we start bringing that into our awareness. And it takes practice. It definitely takes practice. And that's something I'll be talking about more a little bit as we go into the rest of the presentation of the importance this month. Or I'll just mention it here right now. The importance this month of really finding those practices, really finding those things that help you stay rooted in that help you stay confident in your own value and in your own worth. And like I said, it's that divine worth. You are a divine being. You are a child of God. Why the heck would you be interested in anything that doesn't align with that kind of value that you have? And everybody else, everybody, at the end of the day, everybody is a child of God. Everything, everybody and everything is a divine creation. And that's the value that it has. That's the worth that not just you have, but everything else. So how are we going to start interacting with ourselves, first and foremost, Venus in retrograde, and with everything else in life when we, not just knowing conceptually, it starts from there and it's great, but to really feel that, like every single flower, every single rock, even every single, not of course, nevertheless, every single person that crosses your path, that's a divine being of creation. Now, it doesn't mean that you're gonna, take everything into your house or take all the people into your house, and that's where Aries comes into place. It's like, it's great to be in that Pisces existence of seeing the oneness and seeing the unity and seeing the divinity, and the Aries comes in and say, no, but this is me and this is you, and this is what you know, and you're confident in your own, I didn't put it here, but in not just your own value and your worth, but you have your boundaries too. Venus in Pisces can also be very boundaryless. There's absolutely no boundaries. Now, when it comes to relationships, sometimes it can be tricky, especially if you're looking at toxic relationships, where we just say yes to everything. And everybody is going to experience this very differently. But if this does apply into your life, if you do find yourself be disrespectful, or somebody is not treating you the way that you know that you are worth, that's when it's a good time to have that conversation. Like I said earlier, there's a way to express yourself. There's a way to express your own value and your worth, and to have that confidence. Like, okay, I need to set some boundaries. Like, this is just unacceptable. And it can personal relationships, family dynamics, in job situations. Maybe you even go into a store or a gas station, and whatever happens there. And it's like, no, unacceptable. And there's a way to exchange that which you feel was not okay or unjust. But nevertheless, putting those boundaries are really, really important, that are in alignment with how you see yourself and what it is that you see your worth as, and your value. And of course, and this is something I mentioned last time as well, with the taking action, because Aries is like, there's no patience with Aries. There's no like, oh, let's have a conversation. It's like, no, cut, done kind of thing. That Mars energy is very much like that. And it can be like everything in the zodiac, every single sign, every single planet has what I see. It's not good or bad, but it's a higher expression and a lower expression, basically. And Aries can be really impulsive and rushed and not have any patience, which can be a bit too much sometimes. But then also, in some cases, we can really use that energy when it's time to take the action, when it's time to get out of a situation, get out of a relationship, say no to something that it's like done. There's no like, oh, maybe. It's like, no, that's when we need to take that Aries, that courage, the confidence, the will to say, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. Or the opposite. Yes, let's do this because this feels good. This is definitely in alignment with my values, my worth, and I'm gonna go for it. That's the decisiveness of Aries. When it's a yes, and boom, I go for it. So again, we just keep seeing the balancing act of those two energies, because there's so much of that Aries Taurus going on for the month of April. Venus, Mars interacting with each other, feminine, masculine. Very, very interesting. And we can learn so much about ourselves through this process right now. Where is our sweet spot? Where is our sweet spot of the feminine and the masculine, the taking action and to actually be passive, to have the courageous conversation, or to just stay still? Just like so many different opportunities to observe, what's the right course of action for you after the process of redefining who you are, your needs, your desires, and your values. So it's important to also act from a place of the new identity. This is something really big I wanted to emphasize with this new moon in Aries, is the taking of the action. Are you taking it from a new place? Or is it an action that you're taking that is very much based on an old identity? And that's also the letting go of the past, okay? And it's forgiveness, forgiving myself, being compassionate with myself, catching in the moment, oh, here, I want to do this again, but I've decided, I have made a choice that this is just not who I am anymore. This is not what I want for my life anymore. This is not aligned with my values or my worth, and I'm not going to do it. And it takes will. It takes a lot of will. So that's going to be a big theme. Will, to have courage and will to really stay on course with all of your new values, with your new desires, with the new you, with this new identity that you have. Lots of will, lots of courage, and thank God for Aries for that, and Mars. And that's what's so great about this new moon in Aries. Even though it has a different tone to it, nevertheless, it's still new moon in Aries. So taking in all the will and the courage that you need to take the action that you need to take this month. The other theme that I got here is courage to love. Sometimes when life kind of puts us down, or whatever disappointments, hurts, pains, wounds, and we'll go deeper into that as I go into the chart and showing you what Venus is doing with Chiron, which is the wounded healer and the connection there. We are looking at and hurts and wounds that we have experienced throughout life from love. I mean, at the end of the day, love never hurts, right? That's the higher expression of love. It never hurts. No matter what happens, love always does what is in our highest. That's the higher perspective. If we can only adopt that and live by that, and we can, maybe for extended period of times, maybe for shorter periods of time, at the end of the day, the human comes back to the front seat, and we feel the hurt, we feel the pain. And it's not that it's either or, I mean, if you can live in that space of the higher perspective 24/7, 365, hooray. But if not, it's totally fine too, because we are here to have the human experience. That's what Aries is all about. It's like, can you embrace your humanness? Can you love it? And it's okay that you don't live in the cosmic Pisces reality 24/7. It's okay, but can you still have courage to go for it, to love and to have relationships and to do life and to get messy and to enjoy the human experience. That's more what I mean by courage to love, is to be fully you, to fully be a human being, with knowing what it means. That yes, we've all had our disappointments and pain and past experiences that maybe didn't bring us all that we have anticipated or wanted, but don't let that discourage you from the human experience. And definitely when it comes to love, because again, Venus is a big theme this month, March and April, and into May as well. She's just blasting us right now because we need it, because the world needs more love, not less. And it all starts from within. And that's what Venus in retrograde really reminds us. We want to change the world. We want to see more love in the world. We've got to be that. And we've got to have the courage to be that. We've got to have the courage to take the action that is rooted in love and not in fear. Because when we are very identified with our human existence, with the Aries lower chakras, identify with it, that's when fear can really take over big time. That's when our actions start to be based on fear and not love. That's when we want to control. We want to control life. We want to control other people. Again, relationships are big. So the courage to love is also the courage to let go of that control. And it takes that inner introspection, the inner evaluation, when you are faced with a decision or with an action step, is to ask yourself, am I acting out of fear or out of love? And what is your new identity right now? Are you still identified with fear, or are you more identified with love? And if you're starting to shift more towards love, it's practice, of course. And it's like step by step, but every decision, every conversation, every thought, every word, everything, your life is your opportunity to practice that. That's your stage. And you have the freedom to create it in whatever way you want to create it. Takes courage. Absolutely takes courage. So that's my invitation here with the courage to love, is the courage to love yourself fully, deeply, unapologetically, unconditionally, and to do that with others as well, no matter what is the response that you get from them. And that's the higher perspective too. Love doesn't give herself in order to be received or to get something in return. No, love just is there. Love is just love. It's life. Life just wants you to enjoy it, and then to ask yourself, how can I be of service to this life? How can I be of service to me? How can I be of service to others? That's Pisces. But it takes courage, because sometimes being of service in that way means that you can control certain things. And you definitely cannot be motivated by fear. And we all have that, and to practice how to, I like to see it as turning the volume down on that, and then turn the volume up on your love channel. So the last theme here, the great reconnection to yourself and to God, that kind of ties everything that I've just spoken about, that we have an amazing opportunity for that, and to deepen that. We're all in different stages, of course, on our path. Wherever you are at, whatever is your experience with this connection to yourself, the connection to God. And I forgot to put it here. It's actually just a great reconnection to life. Like I said, that's how I see God. It's the great reconnection that I spoke about earlier, that you can actually align and connect your lower self, lowercase self. It's not bad. A lower self doesn't mean a bad self. Just got to say that over and over again. Because sometimes in spirituality, we get this distorted idea that the lower self or the lower chakras or the human desires are somewhat bad or wrong. No, it's learning how to work with them, and that they actually very powerful when we can connect the higher self, the higher case self with the lower self. We don't need to diminish the higher or the lower, or to just live in one space. It's the ability to combine the two together. It's just like the feminine and the masculine, right? So this month is an immense opportunity for you to initiate that. Again, depending where you're at in your path, maybe this is completely new to you. So if there's a spark in you when you hear this and it's like, oh my God, so that's the initiation. And if you've already been on this path and something that you've been doing, it's an opportunity to deepen like never before. Let a complete new relationship with yourself, life, and God to be revealed to you, and take it to the next level, and that's the getting ready for takeoff. When that happens, it's really, really, really powerful. So it's a beautiful energy to be in, that great reconnection. And we are always invited to have that reconnection. There's always another level. There's always another level of depth that we can experience when it comes to our love, when it comes to our experience of ourselves as ourselves, and then our experience with everything else that we are in relationship with. All right. So going into this new moon in Aries, and then I'm gonna show some charts here. I found this photo and a bunch of photos that I have, and I'm like, yeah, that cannot be better. It's so much about this. Aries is so much about this. Discover you, and not in a selfish way. We have a tendency to confuse Aries with being selfish. It doesn't have to be, and again, we know where the fine line is. But taking care of yourself, following your passion, following your life purpose, and taking action that is really aligned with all that is not selfish whatsoever. And that's something very important to pay attention to this month also when it comes to relationships. If you do have people in your life that perhaps make you feel like you are selfish for choosing certain choices, or making certain choices, or make you feel guilty about it, or pointing the selfish card on you, I really want to encourage you and invite you to re-examine the quality of that relationship, and how does that make you feel, and if it's really something that you want to continue or not. Because at the end of the day, you've got to take care of you, and when we do take care of ourselves first and foremost, our cup overflows. So there's no selfishness when it comes to self-love. I'm all about that. That's something that I teach, that I work with, that I do in my own life, and I work with people on, shifting the whole paradigm, and actually understanding that when your cup is full, when you are full of passion, when you're really in your life purpose, and you know which actions to take, you'll be motivated and inspired to take action that helps other people as well. There's absolutely no selfishness. What's so funny about, and it's what you see in the zodiac is Pisces being the last sign, and then Aries is the first sign, but they're so close together, right? It's actually by finding yourself, you lose yourself in a sense. And that's the interesting exploration that is available to you, to really, the more you go in and deepen that relationship with yourself, and do the things also that make you feel alive, that make you feel passionate, that ignites your fire, You do all those things, whatever it is. Take care of your body. You take care of your feelings. You take care of yourself mentally. You take care of yourself spiritually. Doing all the things that fulfill you and fill you up. There's absolutely no way that you'll be selfish. The way I see it is selfishness actually comes from a lack. People are lacking something. And so it gets expressed as being selfish. It's like, I don't care about anybody else. Caring about yourself is just going to amplify how much you are able to give. And the whole exchange between people shifts dramatically when that happens. And I'm very passionate about that, and I'm very motivated. I know this is one of my life purposes, is to shift the paradigm of relationships on this planet. You know, what people consider to be a relationship and what relationships are all about. So big on that. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not what this webinar is all about. I'll just say that this year is going to show us a lot, and especially March, April, May, we're looking at big months of looking at our relationships, because the people that you are with can very much determine your direction, and you want to be uplifted by your relationships and your environments and everything that you surround yourself with. It's extremely, extremely important, and something to go over, you know, this month. Okay, so I just want to show the chart here of the new moon. So like I said, it's what's time right now? Yeah, in about an hour. 7:57 p.m. In North America on the West Coast. That's where the chart is. And a new moon is right here. The sun and the moon are going to come together in the 7 degrees of Aries. As you can see, there's a lot of Aries happening for us in the chart. The new moon is happening very close to Venus. So that's just another Venusian influence, and I'll show you in different charts just like how Venus comes into the cosmic play over and over and over again this month. It really is such a good energy to be in right now with this Venus. So Venus close to the new moon, 4 degrees apart, pretty much a conjunction. Also, if you look right here, this is the rising sign for the chart of the moment. So if there was a baby to be born at this exact moment, which probably will be, man, that little boy is going to be quite the lover, or a girl is going to be quite the lovers. The rising sign is Libra. Also, Libra is associated with Venus. So the ruler of this chart of this moment is Venus as well, and Venus is connected to the new moon. I mean, come on, you can't make this stuff up. You know, it's like the new moon, that new spark, that new moment, that new cycle is all pointing us to like, pay attention. Venus, love, relationships. It's also finances as well. And your creativity and everything that you invest time and energy in. And that's why it's important to look at your value, how much you value yourself, your self-worth, and so forth. And because Venus is still in the sign of Aries and in retrograde and connected to this new moon, it goes back to what I talked about so much last time in the last webinar, relationship with yourself. Because if you can't escape that, you cannot escape that one. And if you keep resisting it, it's just going to keep, blowing a little bit harder. So go with it. Just really, really go with it. It's a great time. It's just such a great time to deepen your relationship with yourself, to find a new identity for yourself, a new type of relationship with yourself. And see how does that affect everything else in your life, and what are the actions that you're going to take in your life that are based on this new relationships that you have. A new moon like this, it's like there's no way about it, no way around it. And if there's some things that you might need to feel, some primal feelings, emotions and whatnot that maybe you have suppressed for a while. Let yourself feel it, all of that. Some angry stuff, maybe, like I said, angry stuff from the past, to not suppress it, to not project it, but to own your anger, own whatever feelings you have. And by doing forgiveness work, like I've talked about earlier, that's your opportunity to let go, to let it go. But don't shove it in. Don't push it back. Don't say like, oh no, I'm not an angry person. Let the anger come up if it needs to come up. How do you resolve it though within yourself? Forgiveness. Start zooming out like an eagle, seeing things from a higher perspective. Okay. And I do want to show here, because this is so powerful also. This new moon is extremely powerful. So much motivation to really do things differently, step out of the box, because we also have Jupiter in Libra, which is, like I said, associated with Venus, squaring Pluto right here, almost exact. You see, 1919. This is this is very powerful, these two. You're looking at Pluto, which is transformation, death, and rebirth. And then Jupiter is expansion, is higher mind, higher perspective. It has to be opening your mind. You got to open your mind. You got to open your perspective. Like I said, zoom out, expand yourself, and let yourself be transformed. Find new power. That's what Pluto is, power, personal power. But if you keep letting, and that can be the conflict here, in a square, that's what it's tension. So depending on, again, what's going on in your life, if you keep giving your power to other people, Jupiter in Libra, it's always about the other person, and that's how we can give our power away. And it can be very subtle sometimes, even if we stay stuck in the being too concerned about what other people think and not taking action because of that, the fear of what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say about me, and all that stuff. That's when you give your power away. So this square happening between these two giants of Jupiter and Pluto is such an invitation to find your own power by expanding your perspective, expanding your horizons, and look at where you give your power away, if that's something that is pretty dominant in your life. And with the new moon in Aries, initiation, doing something new, doing something different, initiate a new identity for yourself. So yeah, it's a very, very, very powerful new moon, with the ability to take us forward. Like I said, getting ready for a takeoff. And again, a bit of a different energy with this new moon also. It's introspection is very much encouraged right now. At least I would say that. Taking the action, doing the things you need to do, yet stay with your hand on your pulse, so to speak. Just keep checking in with yourself. Not being too impulsive, but really start refining your alignment within yourself, aligning thoughts, feeling, words, and actions. And so that takes introspection, and it takes refinement. So the last few days of March are quite interesting. We've got a new moon here on the 27th. Now, very, very interesting is that on that same day, today, actually it happened a few hours ago, Mercury, which is right here in the sign of Aries, entered what we call in astrology retrograde zone. It's the shadow zone. So another big thing that is happening in April, Mercury is going to go retrograde. And as of today, again, no coincidences, On the day of the new moon, Mercury goes right into the shadow period. Mercury is our mind, it's our intellect, it's our right brain, logical mind, it's our thoughts, it's how we speak, it's how we communicate, decision making, it's contracts too. And that's something I really want to emphasize here. Contracts. With Mercury involved and Venus in the picture and all this Venusian energy. And when I say contracts, I mean actual contracts that you have with people. It can be it can be work related. Sorry, it can be work related. It can be living situations, whatever agreements that you have or contracts. And then definitely relationships. When we enter a relationship with somebody, and I'm not just talking marriage, even a friend, there's a contract there of some sort. The unspoken contracts. So we have the spoken, written, black on paper, black and white contracts, and then we've got the unspoken contracts. And then on a deeper level, and that's going to be even more emphasized as Venus goes into Pisces, is the spiritual contracts that we have, soul contracts that we have with people. Absolutely unspoken. A lot of people don't even know about it. They're not aware of it. They don't understand why they just keep running in the same loop with the same person for so long, with unable to break free. Let's say if a contract that is not healthy, right? There's some soul contracts there, and we need to bring awareness into it. What is the soul contract? And when it's complete, it's really important to complete it and step away from it. And if it's not complete, it's important to understand and review the contract and to make decisions. Do I stay in this or not? And if there's something to be completed, then what do we need to do to complete it? And Mercury, when it goes into retrograde, and it's in Aries, and it's going to go into Taurus and then back into Aries, it's the contract that we have with ourselves also. What needs to be reevaluated here? What kind of contract have I signed with myself? And with Mercury, it comes to really my thoughts. Are my thoughts really aligned with my identity? Or am I still running on an old program? Are my words still are aligned with this new identity, or I'm still talking out of like autopilot? My decision-making process, is it aligned with this new identity, or am I still making decisions based on, again, autopilot? So Mercury going into the shadow period, it's starting to get into the retrograde zone. So we're starting to feel that. And another aspect of inward looking and not external. Mercury can be very external. Mercury in Aries can be extremely external. But when we get closer and closer to Mercury going retrograde, the invitation from the universe is to bring the awareness to the inside more. Introspection with Mercury in retrograde. But nevertheless, with this new moon, Mercury went into his retrograde zone. And we have on the 30th, this Jupiter and Pluto, it's already started, so we feel it. There's just a lot of pressure with this new moon. The squares, the oppositions, they merely are energies from the universe to propel us to move forward. So everything that I've spoken about, everything that I've talked about might not come easily. There's this the pressure of, we got to make a change, whatever the change may be. So the 30th, this is going to be exact Jupiter-Pluto square. And it's something we're going to be feeling this entire year, which another reason why it makes 2017 to be a very powerful year, with the opportunity to cultivate a lot of power within yourself and to expand yourself in a whole new way. But that, of course, has to come from a complete death. It's kind of like a resurrection of some sort. And it's interesting that Easter is coming in April as well. So there's definitely, I didn't put that on the theme. That's just something that came to me right now. Resurrection, no doubt about it. So what are you resurrecting as basically? What is that new image that is emerging out of you and as you? And then on the 31st, Mercury is going to go into Taurus. So this is going to be very good and very stabilizing. Mars is already in Taurus, and we're finishing the month with Mercury going into Taurus as well. So that's gonna bring about more stability when it comes to your mind as well. If Mercury went through a lot this past week, and I talked about it in my last webinar, the last week of March here, Mercury met pretty much so many challenges, big outer planets that he interacted with. So we have been going through this transformation of the mind and expansion of the mind with all the releasing of all ideas and old concepts and old structures and old identities. Whew. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in the sign of Aries, and like burning through all that, and it can feel intense. It can feel like a lot. Maybe you felt like your mind was going on fire, or literally, going on this like crazy burning spree or something. And then Mercury moving into Taurus is like slowing things down, mentally speaking. Just giving things a little bit more time to be fertilized also. Because with Aries, we plant the seed. Like I said, it's the spark, and Taurus is the soil. And it's letting all those sparks, all the new ideas, all the new identities, the new visions, whatever that emerged for you just in the last few weeks. Now we're getting into okay, let's put it in the soil. It's important, right? We can't really do anything without it. So Mercury moving into Taurus is it's a relief of some sort. Now I'm going to come out of this presentation, and I want to show you this right here. Wait, I want to open the chat. Thank you, Linda. So now I can see the chat. So if you have any other comments or questions, you can definitely type it up. And can somebody just type in the box, Linda, let me know if you can see my screen still? Okay, great, thank you. So moving into this chart, wait, I wanted something else. Okay, let me go here. Here we go. So this is the new moon, and I'm going to start moving the chart forward, and we're going to go okay, so April 1st, let's keep going, April 2nd. That's what I want to go into. Okay, perfect. So this is April 2nd when Venus goes back into Pisces. So Venus is right here, still in retrograde, 29 degrees Pisces. She's dipped back, starting to get close to Chiron. Talk more about that in a moment. But I also want to show here the fact that on that day that Venus digress back into Pisces, the moon will be in Cancer. Okay, and at the exact moment that Venus goes into Pisces, just FYI, it's not in the chart. I can move it by a few hours, but let's save some time. But the moon is actually going to be at 4 degrees of Cancer in that moment that Venus digressed into Pisces. 4 degrees of Cancer is a square to where we had the new moon, which was 4 degrees of Aries. It was right here. A square where the moon is right now to where we had the new moon. Again, not a coincidence. And that's something that I caught, like I almost missed it. And it's something significant. What I want, we cannot see the new chart. Can you see the chart that I'm talking about right now? Or no? Yeah, it says new moon in Aries, but I moved it to April 2nd. So yeah, now it's not moving. Right now, this chart is showing April 2nd. This is the chart for April 2nd. And just what I'm saying is that the moon on April 2nd, on that same day that Venus goes back into Pisces. So let me move this. Let's move it by a few hours. Here we go. Okay. So this is just an hour before. So as you can see here, Venus goes into Pisces. And that moment that she digressed into Pisces, the moon is at 4 degrees Cancer. Okay. And this spot here where the moon is going to be on the 2nd is squaring the exact spot of where the new moon occurred, 4 degrees Aries. Now, what I want to say about this is that's, again, not a coincidence from the universe, something to pay attention to. Cancer is all about our emotions. It's our emotions and it's our feelings, home, where we feel comfortable, and it's also our inner child, and that's something that I want to speak about when it comes to this specific square and what it represents, and how important it is that during this time of reevaluating the relationship with yourself and reconnecting to yourself and reconnecting to God is to really embrace and find that child within you, and have a reconnection to that child within and finding the home within, really understanding the roots of your emotions and your feelings that go way, way, way back to just your life as an adult. And that so much of the hurts and the pain, disappointments, whatever it is that you've experienced throughout your life as an adult, to really go back into your childhood, to go back to when you were a child, stuff that did happen in childhood or your home when you were growing up, and to bring that into your awareness. And if there's things, going back to the themes that I spoke about, if there's things that you need to forgive, maybe it's things that you have suppressed and are now needing to come back online for you to really forgive and let go. Cancer is so much about embracing and nurturing. It's the mother as much it is the child as well. So squaring this new moon or the spot, it's not squaring the new moon, it's squaring the spot where the new moon occurred just a few days later. So you've got this new motivation and this ability and the will to take action. It's also reminding us to not neglect that inner child within, not neglect your own self, and to nurture yourself like a mother nurtures her child, to pay attention to your feelings, to pay attention to your emotions. Don't let them take over and control you. But nevertheless, we've got to still maintain the ability to be connected to the child within and actually start listening to that child more. And if and the fact that Venus dips into Pisces on that day, again, it's the unconditional love. Venus in Pisces is unconditional love, unconditional. An invitation on that day really to initiate a cycle in your life for the next month and beyond, your entire life, but especially this month. Find that. What is it that you need to let go of? What it is that you need to do to find more of that unconditional love for yourself and for everyone else, of course. But there's some magic waiting for us when we're able to connect to that child within and to give it the love and to give it the nurturing and to give it everything that maybe that child never received, and it's your time now to give it to yourself. And it can be a very beautiful, beautiful process, a really beautiful process. So that's the second. And now Venus is going to go all the way to 27 degrees of Pisces, and she's going to meet Chiron. Let me just keep moving the chart forward. Day. Okay. So I want to move it right here to the 6th, and I'm going to kind of go a little faster with the next ones. I've covered most of what I wanted to cover for April, the big themes and what is so important to focus on. You can see the chart. All right, let me take care of that. Here we go. Now you can see the chart, I betcha. Yay, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So we are here now. I moved it to April 7th. So what happened on the 6th is that Saturn is going to go retrograde. So we're going into a lot of retrogrades this month. That's why I said, even though it's April, new moon in Aries, which is very invigorating and awesome, new action, new stuff going on, we're looking at a lot of retrogrades. Okay, we're going to have 4 planets in retrograde, believe it or not, in April. Okay, so Saturn is going to go retrograde on the 6th, right here. It's squaring Chiron throughout the entire month, and it's going to go on for the entire year. Chiron is the wounded healer. Again, it's our wounds. It's coming up to the surface, and it's coming up for us to get to really find more truth, to be truthful with ourselves and other people. And with Saturn, it's the lesson of growing up. Even though there's some emotional stuff maybe pulling on us and things that happened in the past, Saturn squaring Chiron, it can feel painful, but at the same time, Saturn is helping us to mature, to let go, to move forward, and to really manifest in the physical world, and manifest from a place of what we truly want and not manifest from our wounding from the past. That's what Saturn's stopping on. It's 27 degrees Sagittarius, squaring Chiron and Venus. It's like, what are you manifesting? And if we're not aware, if the wounds, Chiron and Pisces can be very subconscious wounds. And that's why I talked about that little child that is so important to reconnect to, because as adults, we can keep operating from that wounded child place and keep reliving the same experiences because there's some subconscious feelings, emotions, wounds that we haven't paid attention to. Maybe we haven't had the courage to pay attention to. So with this new moon, we're getting a spark and filling the tank with so much more courage to face maybe some of those shadows. Shadow is not a bad thing. It's just something that we haven't paid attention to. So Saturn stopping, again, introspection, going within. Where do I need to mature? Where do I need to, like, what is it that I'm manifesting in my life that is just not, something feels off. Let me reevaluate. Where is it coming from? What is the root of all this? And because what's going on in the chart right now, there's a massive, massive force of manifestation happening. That's just undeniable. We have an Earth trine between Mars and Pluto, Taurus and Capricorn. And we've got Saturn that is retrograding, stopping to go retrograde on the galactic center. I don't want to go into it too much right now. You're more than welcome to actually do your research and find some information about the galactic center. I'm not too versed when it comes to that. I'm just learning. But what I can tell you is that the galactic center is a very, very significant point in our solar system. And that's like the source, astrologically speaking, cosmically speaking. That's like if you needed to point out a point of this is the source, the galactic center is that. Saturn is stopping to go retrograde on that spot. Saturn is what helps us to manifest in this physical reality. So this is very powerful. And Saturn in Sagittarius is helping us to manifest the truth. That's what you want to manifest in your life. You want to manifest the truth. So again, who are you? What is the true you? Not the past, not what happened in the past. It's part of who you are, yes. But are you interested in creating a different story? A different storyline? Saturn, Sagittarius, stopping on the galactic center point, squaring all this going on in Pisces is a big reality check and a big truth check. Where do I need to be true to myself, others? That's integrity. Saturn is integrity. And the highest forms of integrity is when we align our thoughts, words, and actions. That's when I go back to what I spoke about earlier, is sorting through all that and what is not in alignment with the truth, and then coming to a place of integrity. Saturn in Sagittarius going retrograde is a lesson in integrity, and it's going to go on for months now. April 6th is when it goes retrograde. So then, to add to the party, we are going to go to the 9th right here, and Mercury is going to go into retrograde. Hallelujah. Mercury in retrograde in Taurus. So that's very slow. Yeah, Mercury in Taurus is already slow. It's going to slow things down even more so. So that's another thing with this fire energy that we are sitting in, even though the sun is in Aries, we're in the cycle of Aries, and it's a very, like I said, a powerful, amazing time to take action and manifest. Things are just a little slower, and I want to mention that for those of you that maybe do have lack of patience or maybe want to move things in a certain way, just know that yes, things are manifesting big time, but it will take a little bit of time. It's not all going to be like instant manifestations. Mercury in retrograde in Taurus, Mars is in Taurus. Like I said, it's like preparing the soil. but it's even beyond the preparing the soil. The soil is already prepared. You just let things, now things are germinating in that soil, you know. So Mercury going retrograde, and it's going to be in retrograde until I don't have the dates here, but for 3 weeks. So whatever that is, until the 28th or 29th, till the end of the month. It's reevaluating, you know, it's reevaluating some ideas maybe that you've just had, and this will be a time to, okay, is it still working for me? You know, is it still something that I value? Mercury in Taurus. Lots of Venusian energy over and over again. When Mercury goes into Taurus, we're adding another Venusian energy into the picture. Taurus is associated with Venus, and Mars is still in Taurus, associated with Venus. So just keep going back to love, really. You know, it sounds like a cliche, but this month I really want to encourage you to, every thought that you have, every word, because Mercury is also your speech and how you speak, how do you communicate, is ask yourself this very simple question: what would love do now? That's like maybe like the only thing that I could have picked for April. What would love do now? What would love do now? That's it. And to really emphasize that love is not always sweet and covered with butterflies and rainbows. Love can be very fierce. Okay? Let's not forget that Venus is going to go back into Aries, and Venus goes back into Aries on the 28th, actually. So fierce love is very important to have as well. To cut, what I like to say is to just cut through the bullshit. So what would love do now? Sometimes it is tough love. It is to have tough conversation with somebody, and that's what love would do now, right now. But then what would love do now is to keep asking that, what is the most loving thing for myself right now? What is the most loving thing that I can say? What is the most to myself and other people? What is the most loving thought that I can have with myself and other people? What will be the best course of action that is rooted in love? And love changes her colors depending on what is needed. So I really want you to remember that. And Venus in retrograde in Taurus, going back to what you value in your life. Finding the beauty in your life through that process. And let me just move this a few days ahead, because then we're going to have the full moon on the 11th. Sun is right here in Aries. Oh, that's a few hours later. Let me move this backwards. So much fun that you can just move time like this. We're almost there. Going back. And here we go. Okay. So Sun in Aries, Moon in Libra. We're having a full moon, 21 degrees of Libra. I mean, that is, this cannot be more of a self versus relationship aspect when you have Moon and Sun opposing one another in the sign of Aries, and Libra is really me versus relationships. Where does the truth needs to come out in the context of relationships? And with Mercury being in retrograde, during this time of the full moon in the sign of Taurus. Like I spoke about earlier, contracts, reevaluating your contracts, all contracts. But especially, if you do have some very clear soul contracts with people and some love contracts with people, it's a good time. Like, do those contracts, do those agreements, are they still in line with who I am? Is it still aligning with this new baby that has emerged? Is it still serving my life and my goals and my purpose and my passions? It's going to be a big one. This full moon, it's happening on the 10th, North America, and then 11th here in Australia and the east coast of America. But it's going to illuminate. That's what the full moon does: illuminate what needs to be illuminated within relationships. And with Mercury being in retrograde in Taurus, it's like anything that you don't value anymore has to change. And in relationships, it's either that you're changing the contract, the agreement, the relationship, or that it's completely done. So yeah, that's the full moon that is happening. And I want to leave room for some questions. So I'll just, without showing all the dates and all the charts, but if you want to write it down, Venus is going to go direct on the 15th of April. And you know what? Let me just show that chart, because that one is important. And I know I said I will come back to it. So wait a second. Let me move this a day. Here we go. Because it's a very important day happening here on the 15th. Really. Venus goes direct after 40 days, after 40 days of being in retrograde. Let me move this a few hours though. Here we go. Okay. So Venus right here at 26 degrees of Pisces stops to go direct. So this is incredible. She is stopping to go direct as she is conjoining Chiron, the wounded healer, and at the same time squaring Saturn right here. Whew, you guys, that's going to be interesting. I'll just say that. I am intrigued to see how that's going to play out in my life and in your life. But this is definitely, tough lessons when it comes to love. It can be tough lessons when it comes to money as well. Any karma, any karma when it comes to love, relationships, money can bring some tough lessons. Again, just so we can start writing a new storyline. Just so we can start writing a new storyline, and having Venus still in Pisces moving forward is where is the compassion? Where is the unconditional love? I've got to move forward from here. I can't move forward from a place of anger, resentment. I'm still holding on to something that happened 20 years ago, or even a month ago, so if there is something you're holding on to whatsoever, around agreements, around contracts as well, because that's being emphasized, the position where Venus is turning to go direct it's gonna bring some tough lessons. If we're holding on too tightly to anything, that's which Saturn comes in, and it's like, we've got to mature, we've got to grow up, we've got to move forward in order to manifest what is really true. So that might bring some tough lessons for people. It's just depending on where you're at. So this is a very important day. Definitely put that on your calendar. April 15th. And then we feel the effects, the even the weeks after that. So pretty much the whole month of April. The 19th is when the sun is going to move into Taurus. On the 20th and the 21st are also very important as well. Pluto is going to go retrograde. So we're going to have 3 planets in retrograde then: Mercury, Saturn, Pluto. And on that same day, let me move it forward. I know I said I'm not going to do it, but I can't. I got to move it forward because it's another important day. On that same day that Pluto goes retrograde, we've got Pluto right here, stopping to go retrograde on the 20th. Mercury is going to digress into Aries. Let me move it one day. Okay. See, Pluto is in retrograde. Mercury digressed back into Aries. So just like I said earlier, when a planet dips back into a sign, it's like, oh, some unfinished business. Maybe there's some things that you haven't expressed that needs to be expressed. Things about yourself that you need to bring out more, that you need to communicate more, that you need to bring online. It's all about yourself with Aries. All about yourself, what needs to be communicated, what needs to be shared, what needs to be exchanged, and how are you going to do it now? Because this is a take 2, so to speak. Mercury going back into Aries. But on the same day that Pluto goes retrograde, it's find the power within. Find the power within you. I mentioned that earlier, finding places where you give your power away. So this is Pluto in retrograde. It's bringing us back to our own power. But this can also show you where you are operating from a place of control and maybe manipulating. Because when we step out of love and we start going into fear, that's when we want to control and we want to manipulate. And Pluto is that. So it's just giving us an opportunity to see that, to acknowledge that, and to turn it around. How? With compassion and love, right? Remember, what would love do now? You don't get mad at yourself. You don't get mad at another person too. That's another thing, that you have the ability to see, oh, they're acting out of fear. That's why they're trying to control me, or that's why they're trying to manipulate me, or that's why they hurt me, or that's why they did whatever it is. That's why they're angry right now, because they're hurting, they're in pain. So you don't let somebody inflict their pain on you. That's when it's important to have the boundaries, but you're able to see that that's where they're coming from. And if it's the right opportunity, and you know how to discern if it's the right opportunity to have a conversation with somebody, to maybe bring the awareness to them. And like, hey, you're projecting whatever it is onto me. Let's have a conversation about it. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to say it and what to say, but to be in that mindset of seeing where people are coming from, and to know that it's just on the surface. That's the higher perspective. And then you ask yourself, what would love do now? Would love have a conversation? Would love bring that into the awareness? Would love just walk away and give space? Do love need to give space right now? And that space can be a day, a week, or maybe 5 years, But keep reminding yourself that throughout the month of April, because there's a lot going on and a lot of shit is going to come up to the surface. I'll be honest with you on that one. The first 3 weeks of April are full force. It's almost like there's not a moment to breathe, from one feeling to the next, from one thought, from another, from one conversation, one relationship, really shifting things, doing things differently, reevaluating. So what's really important to not lose yourself in all of that is we go back to that Mars in Taurus. But here's another thing, is that Mars is moving into Gemini on that day as well, on the 21st. It's like those 2 days, 20th and 21st, like, holy man, I don't know what's going to happen then. But thank God for the first 3 weeks of April, Mars is still in Taurus, holding things down. So that's where I want to encourage you to find that Shiva energy within you, that Shiva boom that is holding it down. And you know what is your anchor? What is your anchor? Mars in Taurus is the anchor. What is your anchor? And you keep going back to that anchor. Every time it seems like you're slipping back to an old identity, an old thought, an old way of acting. You find yourself slipping into that, boom, go to your anchor, whatever that anchor is. I love to see it, especially right now with Mars and Taurus, your nature, your body. Be in your body. I talked about it in the last webinar as well. Be in your body. Make your body be your anchor. Have nature be your anchor. Connect your body with nature as much as possible, as often as possible, as frequently as possible this month. Especially that it's starting to be spring in the Northern Hemisphere. So enjoy it. Let that be your anchor. You're going to need it. We're going to need it. It's very, it's going to be crucial for our well-being to have that anchor. So I'll end here. We're going to have the new moon on the 26th, and then Venus is moving back into Aries on the 28th. But I'll probably have the next webinar on the 26th, on the next new moon. So we'll talk about it then. I know I went longer here, and I apologize, and thank you for your time. There's just a lot to cover. I can actually probably talk for another 2 hours. Are there any questions? And then we'll just close with a really quick meditation, more like a prayer. So you can type it in the chat box if you have any question, or if you want to unmute yourself. No question. All right. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I'll just finish with a prayer. As we are approaching this new moon in about 25 minutes. My prayer is for all of us to have the courage and the will to take the action. To take the action that helps us to discover who you truly are. To find your passion, to be in your life purpose, and to take the action that is moving you in that direction. To have the will and the courage to let go of all that doesn't help, that doesn't help us in that discovery, that doesn't help us to connect more with our passion, to connect more with our life purpose, to connect more with God. To have the will and the courage to discern, to have the courage and the will to follow your own guidance and your own guidance system, to follow your own internal compass, to trust it, to rely on it, and to source your own power and your own wisdom from that guidance, from your own truth, from your own knowing, from your own heart, and from your own soul. And may this month be fruitful. May you see your life blossoming according to this new identity that you have birthed for yourself, according to your new values, to your new sense of self-worth, your new sense of self-value. May you have the courage to follow that wholeheartedly, with your mind, with your heart, and with your soul, with your words, with your thoughts, with your actions. May you be blessed with infinite abundance. Remembering that you are a child of God, a divine child of God, and you are worthy. of all that life has to offer you. And that life is worthy of all that you have to offer life. And may you remember just how valuable and divine you are. And so it is. Thank you so much. And I did say that I have a special offer for those of you who are attending live. So if you do want to have a personal reading with me, shoot me an email. This is my website, noalakshmi.com, and you can email me at noah@noalakshmi.com. And there's a special offer that I have for soul signature readings right now. So if you are interested in that, this is my email, and you can email me. I can send you the link to book your reading, and you can also share it with your friends if you want to gift a friend with a reading. That's a nice thing to do as well. So that is all. That is all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Carolyn. And have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week. May the force be with us for this month. May the force be with us, right? And the force is within us, so no problem there. Sending you so much love. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you so much.